The offense was absolutely electric. The offense was unbelievable. Tarleton rings up a grand total of more than 500 yards total offense, 501 yards of total offense, including 249 on the ground. And look, they shut down New Mexico State. And by the way, this is one of those games. It was 43-17. This game was 33-7 at half. Okay, this game, in a lot of ways, not as close as it seems. Fantastic win for Tarleton State. So they get their first ever win as a Division I program. Also, while they were playing, there were other teams that weren't. There were other teams that weren't. And unfortunately, we've had to dial up the small college schedule tracker again. You can find it at texasfootball.com. But if it's not one thing, it's another.
Yep.
The winter weather wreaked some havoc. Lamar had to postpone their season opener. They were supposed to open the season against Northwestern State. It had to get pushed all the way to March 27th, so they will not begin the Blaine Morgan era until this weekend against Nichols.
So February 27th.
February 27th. No. Well, yes, but the game against Northwestern State is going to be rescheduled for March 27th.
Okay, sorry.
I didn't clarify that very well. The American Southwest Conference has had to shuffle a ton of things around because of multiple cancellations. Any games that were postponed last week, which included Hardin-Simmons and Southwestern, Texas Lutheran and McMurray, Southwestern and Louisiana College, they're going to be made up on March 13th. The ASC Championship is going to be pushed 2 weeks to March 27th. A lot of things are moving around. The SAA, the Southern Athletic Association, that's where Austin College, Millsaps, Trinity, and Hendricks, they pushed their games a couple of weeks. UT Permian Basin had to push their game against Southern Nazarene to another date.
What a nightmare!
It's just a nightmare. If it's not one thing, it's another.
Lord, those poor guys.
Like it's just proof that this is still in spirit the 2020 season.
Yeah.
just because it's playing.
And here we are saying, and the game was rescheduled to March 27th of 2021.
It's ridiculous. So you can find the schedule tracker at texasfootball.com. We're keeping an eye on all things college football in the state of Texas here in the spring.
Quick programming note: we are live on YouTube right now.
Oh, hi YouTube.
We're on there.
Hello YouTube. Okay, some coaching news. We've got some late breaking coaching news coming down right now. The one that we have in the Chiron there is Jim Ledford. Jim Ledford is retiring at Richardson Berkner. That is notable in the sense that Berkner is going to be an interesting job, I think, for somebody to step up and grab if they are so inclined. Furthermore, Jim Ledford has been at Richardson Berkner since 2000. So we're talking 20 seasons there, or 20 years there at Berkner. He is retiring there, so congratulations to Coach Ledford. He, of course, had a run there in the mid-2000s where they were really, really good. A 12-1 season in 2005 is probably the high water mark for them. But Jim Ledford is retiring there at Berkner. From what that was broken by Matt Stepp, Dave Campbell's Texas high school football insider. From what he understands, Coach Ledford has not entirely closed the door on coming back, but it would have to be the right situation. But for now, Coach Ledford is retiring at Richardson Berkner, so Richardson Berkner is open. Also, this was late breaking, coming down basically as soon as we were, just right as we were coming onto the air, and this was broken by Cale Steed out there at Press Pass Sports. He's out there in the Panhandle. That Seminole has hired Greg Poynter to be their new head coach. Greg Poynter has been at Pampa the last 7 years. So he is moving from Pampa to Seminole. And so that is a move there. Pampa is now open. And so that will be something that, leaving. He's been there for a while. They've had some really nice years there at Pampa, but he will be taking his talents to Seminole.
There we go.
So Seminole has a new head coach in Greg Poynter. That is some late breaking news. Of course, we've got all the coaching changes at TexasFootball.com.
Brought to you by
our friends, the North Texas
Honda.
The North Texas Honda dealers. They're here to help. I should probably get better at that read.
I got you. That's what I'm here for.
That's why they pay you the big bucks. All right. On the recruiting side, there were a couple of noteworthy things. We're going to talk all things recruiting on Wednesday, as we normally do, with Greg Powers, an excellent athlete, and a big-time guest, which I won't spoil. But we will. There are two things I wanted to note. One of them was a relatively big commitment that came down over the weekend, as Evan Stewart Evan Stewart, the wide receiver from Frisco Liberty, has announced his commitment to the University of Texas. Texas beats out places like Alabama, Auburn, Baylor. He had 35 offers. He is a four-star prospect, real burner out there is Evan Stewart. He is heading to Texas. He has pulled the trigger there. So a big get there for Jeff Banks and Steve Sarkisian and that crew as they were able to haul in Evan Stewart, a commitment from him. Elsewhere, there's another one. This came down yesterday because I think I got tagged in it. But J.D. Price, Jadarian Price, one of the most highly sought running backs in this class, has committed. He is heading to Notre Dame. He pretty much had his pick of the litter. I think he's a 4-star on TexasFootball.com. Yes. He's short list of one of the best running back prospects in the state of Texas. He is heading to Notre Dame as the Golden Domers haul in J.D. Price. Notre Dame doesn't recruit a ton here in the state of Texas. They pick their spots, but this is a pretty big get there for Notre Dame to haul in J.D. Price.
I was pretty surprised by that selection.
A little surprised. A little surprising. I'm going to make sure I ask Greg Powers about this on Wednesday.
I feel like there's some tie-in that we just don't know about from looking at, the grand scope of things. But I feel like that's one of those, there's got to be some underlying reason there.
Very interesting, though. But J.D. Price, Jadarian Price, the running back from Denison, is heading to Notre Dame. I want to also direct you to TexasFootball.com. Got a bunch of good stuff up on TexasFootball.com. My piece that I talked about on Friday is up. The most improved high school football offenses in 2020. We've got our top 10 prospects of the in the class of 2022 up. We're continuing to roll out part of our unfiltered anonymous recruit survey, including the challenges of being recruited during the COVID-19 pandemic. Shahan J. Raja is doing his state of the program pieces up. He's got one up on Houston. In which he says that, and I don't know if he's necessarily wrong about it. He said the worst thing about Houston in their 2020 was that they were irrelevant. Which is kind of true. I mean, they were just kind of faded from the national picture. How can they get back on there? Shahan J. Raja, our college football insider, has that up on TexasFootball.com, and a few more things, including Matt Stepp just finished up his countdown of the top 10 Texas high school football games he watched in 2020. You will not believe what number one is. So, TexasFootball.com for all things football in the state of Texas.
And one other thing that Stepp just said to keep up with those helpful Honda coaching changes, he said that there are several hires being made tonight and later this week, a couple of which Hurst Bell, Sims Bowie, and Heiko on the list of names coming out soon. So make sure to keep up with that on TexasFootball.com too.
There are going to be a lot of moves. Tonight is Monday. Today is Monday, and Monday tends to be school board night.
Yep.
So if you're wondering what our job is actually about, it is just being reading the minutes of school board meetings. But yeah, so it's school board night, and so as a result, there are probably going to be a number of hires. So make sure you make TexasFootball.com your source.
And those school board meetings are probably going to be long tonight, considering everything that happened last week.
They're probably going to be long.
So R.I.P. to Stepp.
They probably didn't happen last week.
Right? Exactly.
So they've got 2 weeks worth of stuff. So shout out to Stepp. I'm glad you are watching those and not me. We're Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. TexasFootball.com is where you can find complete coverage of high school football, college football, and recruiting all across the Lone Star State. I want to invite you to become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at TexasFootball.com/subscribe. That's our subscription package. 2 magazines, a year's worth of exclusive online content at TexasFootball.com. You get a lot of stuff there at TexasFootball.com. So we hope you'll become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at TexasFootball.com/subscribe. We're hard at work already on the 2021. Oh my gosh. We're already hard at work on the 2021 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, because football never sleeps. It's actually this time next week. It's going to be March. Yeah. This time next week it's going to be March, and March means for magazine season for me. So, yay. We're already hard at work on the 2021 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. We hope you'll consider becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at TexasFootball.com/subscribe. Pickle, let's go to the hotline, and let's bring in a man who's been on the move, and I mean that both geographically and just in the grand scheme of things. We're joined by the new head coach of the Gregory-Portland Wildcats. We're joined by Coach Brent Davis. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are y'all?
We're doing excellent. Appreciate your time. I guess my first question is the one that everybody's got on their mind, which is your move to Gregory-Portland and why that was the right move for you. So obviously that's a program with a lot of pedigree. You had a pretty darn good gig there at San Angelo Central. What was it about Gregory-Portland that made it the right move for you?
Well, uh, I love San Angelo Central. Best job I've ever had, and the best people I've ever worked for. Everything from top to bottom there was great. It had nothing really to do with that. I could have stayed there the rest of my life and been very happy. But this opportunity came open down in South Texas, and my wife, she's from South Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a lot of family that lives down here. And I was going to have an opportunity to bring my son on as a coach with me here, and so there were just a lot of family reasons. And Gregory-Portland's a great place. I think it's ripe to have some success. I've know a lot about it from being in South Texas at Alice and Sinton and Banquetti and places like that. And I've just always thought it was a great place to coach football and then the other part of it was just going back to being an athletic director and having a little, more say over the whole total program. And I'm excited to be here.
This is a program down there in Gregory-Portland that, I think obviously the pedigree kind of speaks for itself. They've had tremendous success, and the fan base, I know, speaks for itself as well. This is a football crazy part of the state. I'm interested in what you told your kids the first time you addressed them as the head coach. Whenever you go in there and you talk with your guys, what was your message to them whenever you addressed them as their new head coach?
Well, I mean, basically, it was just that, hey, we're going to come in here. There's going to be some things that are going to change. Not that what they were doing was bad. It's just, everybody has their own little way of doing it, and we were going to change up some things, and to get on board with us. And when I was talking to them, they're paying attention, looking you right in the eye. I've been here since February the 1st, and they're working hard. They bought into what we're talking about, and I think it's going to be a good deal.
Talking with Brent Davis, the new head coach of the Gregory-Portland Wildcats here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at hashtag TF Today. Coach, I want to go back and look back last year on the 2020 season there at San Angelo Central. Now when you take a look back on it, with all the things that you guys had to go through with COVID-19 and the protocols and just how everything was so different, I'm interested in how you think, down the road you're going to remember that 2020 season as wild and crazy as it was.
Yeah, it was certainly different. I mean, but I think the things we're going to probably remember more than anything is just how resilient our kids were. I think everyone across the state has similar stories on, our athletes and how the things that they had to handle and go through to be able to play the game and their ability to be able to do that. And, I know in San Angelo, our athletes and our students, they were just ready to get back in school and get back to some kind of normal and get back to the things they enjoy doing. And, not only the sports that are involved in school, but just the social part of school and the learning that's going on in school. And, kids missed it. They missed being there, and they missed being a part of something. And to me, that was the thing I think I'll take from it more than anything. Is just how eager they were to get back to work, and then how good we handled it. The whole state. We had the protocols. We all followed them. We did whatever we needed to do to be able to participate, and I thought it went off great. I thought the UIL did a tremendous job of navigating through everything to allow our kids to get back to normal.
I do want to ask you a little bit about Gregory-Portland here in a moment, but one last thing on Central is they've hired a replacement, a guy that I think you're familiar with.
Yeah.
Kevin Crane, the offensive coordinator, was promoted to the head football coach's role there. I'm interested in your take on Coach Crane getting the job there.
Oh, I'm excited for him. I'm excited for San Angelo. Obviously, that was my recommendation was to give it to Kevin when I left, and I sure, the whole time before he actually got it, I was hoping he was going to get it and did everything I could to try to help him. And we were together 16 years together. We were together at Alice for 4 years, and then we were at San Angelo for 12 years together. And he was my offensive coordinator the whole time, and he's just a quality guy. I mean, he's a great person. He's a great coach. Those kids really, like him and play hard for him, and I know he's going to do tremendous things there.
Talking with Brent Davis, the new head coach of Gregory-Portland here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, hashtag TF Today. Coach, I think there's probably a fair number of GP fans who are watching this, who are interested in what kind of team they're going to see next year. What the Brent Davis team is going to look like. What can you tell folks about what this Wildcats squad is going to look like under Coach Davis?
Well, I hope they're going to see a tough-minded, physical football team. That's what we're going to have to be to have success. And I don't really know exactly what kind of offense we're going to run yet. I know it's going to be similar to what we did in San Angelo, but we've got to figure out what kind of personnel, what kind of quarterbacks, what kind of receivers that we have here, and then we'll make some decisions based on how much we're going to throw or spread it out and things like that. But I hired Greg Winder recently from Louisville High to be my offensive coordinator here, and he's going to run his offense, which is a spread concept offense with a whole bunch of different formations that we weren't really a big formation team in San Angelo, but we're going to turn into one here, and I'm going to let Greg run it. And then I hired Mark Chester, who was with me for a while at San Angelo, and then he went to Blue Ridge as a head football coach the last couple of years, and I got him to come down here to be my assistant athletic director and my defensive coordinator. And so our defense will be really similar to what we did in San Angelo, but our offense will change up a little bit. But more than anything, I just want us to be an aggressive, tough-minded, physical football team. And I think if we can get to that point, that we'll have success.
And finally, Coach, I think people, for the last spell here, you've been out there in the Concho Valley. Of course, you had to stop in DFW at the Colony, but a lot of your career has been, this is a return to South Texas for you, and a lot of your career has been down there. In fact, you had great success pretty much everywhere you've been, but I would say the site of your biggest success was there at Sinton when you took them to the title game there in 2001. From your perspective, can you kind of put into words what is it about South Texas and coaching in South Texas that is so alluring and it is so interesting to you?
Well, I just, not on purpose. It just kind of happened that my first job out of college was at El Campo as an assistant coach. And I just kind of fell in love with this area. I had never really been in it a whole lot and just liked it. The kids here remind me a lot of the kind of kids I grew up with in West Texas, and then the ones I coach out in San Angelo. They're just good, hardworking kids. We got great families. Football's really important. Athletics in itself is really important down here. And the whole town, whether you're in Sinton or Gregory-Portland or Alice or any of them, the whole town will support you. And that, being a one-horse town, like just having one high school that we're responsible for here was another part of my decision to come, because there's just something about when you have your whole town that rallies around your programs, and down here in South Texas, they're known for it.
He's Brent Davis. He's the new head coach of the Gregory-Portland Wildcats. Coach, really appreciate your time. Congratulations again on the new
appreciate
game.
y'all. Appreciate you, and I appreciate everything y'all do for high school football.
Take care, Coach.
Thanks.
There he goes, Brent Davis, new head coach, Gregory-Portland Wildcats. Of course, Gregory-Portland has had their fair share of big-name coaches. Of course, a big-name coach is just leaving, and Rick Rhodes. He's, of course, had tremendous success at Cameron Yo, but, they really made their name under the legendary Ray Akins. Bruce Bush was an unbelievable coach there for a while as well. George Harris had a great run as well. This is a Matt Avastasio had a 10-win season there before Coach Rhodes got there, and this is a program that it's one of those 5A programs that is a one-horse town, right? It's a one-school town, and that's the game down there in South Texas. And so Coach Davis, I know, is really excited to get down there. I think you can hear it from him, and excited to see what they're able to do, because that's a program that's got a ton of pedigree, a ton of history, and I think Coach Davis is a guy who, I think it's easy to forget that, and this is before your time, Pickle. I think you were like -16 years old. But when Coach Davis, I'm not trying to date Coach Davis like that, but when he got to St. Angelo Central, they were not what we talk about. They were bad. They were in a long lose. I want to say they had lost like 13 or 14 in a row. They had been in a bad way when he showed up. And now you look at St. Angelo Central, and that is, that's a West Texas, power. It's a team that you think about in West Texas every single year.
Oh yeah.
And so, he's been that kind of guy, that successful coach everywhere he's gone, and interested to see what he does there at G-Port. So
I think it's cool too with a coach that has been at that a program for so long, and he's had, like you said, the same offensive coordinator for 16 years, to get to go do something, but not only started a new school, but to bring in a new scheme, like they said, offensively, that's got to be kind of exciting for him too. It's like after that many years, it's kind of cool.
And there, we see this. I'm not, Coach Davis, I think, was at Central for 12 years, so this is certainly not necessarily his MO. But there are guys who really like the build. There are guys who there are a lot of coaches out there who they want to take over a winning program and they want to continue that winning program, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's also guys who they want to take something and take it to the next level, and when it gets to that next level, I'm not saying this is the case with Coach Davis, but there are guys who are they're interested in another challenge.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I wonder, at Gregory-Portland, he will have an opportunity to take a program that I would say right now is kind of middling. It's just
right.
They're about 500 every single year, and have an opportunity to turn them back into what they've been, and turn what team that's got plenty of history there. So appreciate Coach Davis hopping on with him. Excited for him at G-Port. And now we go to Ashley Pickle for America's second favorite segment. Final thoughts.
Two things. One of them being Andrew Christensen said, I know they're in different classifications now, but is it Gregory-Portland that Tepper always used to get Coach Danaher fired up? Step said, "Oh yeah, that was a rivalry back in the day." So I
think
know
the one
if you
that
got under Danaher's skin.
I get under his skin about a lot of things. Toloso Midway is one of them.
Okay,
because he's never lost to TM. And so I think one time I told him, I was like, we're not going to pick you to win the district. We're going to pick TM to win the district. Which is telling him one thing he likes and one thing he hates.
Yeah.
Which is, we're not going to pick you to win the district. He's like, great. And it's like, you're going to pick TM. He's like, oh. Yeah, I don't know. You'll have to be more specific about which thing I got under Coach Danaher's skin about. I have permanent
notorious.
I have permanent residence under his skin. So.
And the last thing is, don't forget, it's National Margarita Day.
Is it really?
It is, which is not ideal that it's on a Monday.
It's a Monday.
But the positive side of that is that means next year it should be on a Tuesday, and when National Margarita Day falls on Taco Tuesday, that's a match made in heaven.
I like
there.
how you've already set your calendar for a year from now on Margarita Day.
Well, I feel like everyone's setting their calendar on a year from now anyway, gestures at the entire world. So if that's just another thing that we could hopefully look forward to, rack it up, add it to the list.
It's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at texasfootball.com. Thanks again to Brent Davis of Gregory-Portland. That's going to take a minute for me to get used to. Gregory-Portland coach Brent Davis for being our guest. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. Vince Young, please meet your Player of the Year trophy. Be here tomorrow for Hot Take Tuesday with Shahan J. Raja on Texas Football Today.